Mashpug Pond is a natural body of water, and it's the last natural pond in Providence. Well, the procession originally started, and it continues as a way for kids that we've worked with in these workshops to sort of publicly share what they've learned and what they've created with the public. So it's not just an assembly in their school, but they take it out of their school and into the community. Ginese and I kind of brainstormed the idea for this Saturday summer series for the Urban Pond Procession, which is something we've never done before. Our ideas of what we do kind of is a collective decision. We kind of brainstorm and meet. And it's different artists and educators and scientists that come together.
So Holly told me that one of the historical uses of Mashpug Pond was as an ice pond, which meant people would cut ice blocks from it in the winter to use for refrigeration. From that, Holly had the idea of building ice boats to float out into the pond with a kind of symbolic reference to the overheating of the pond due to rainwater runoff that's heated up on the asphalt and then drains into the pond and raises the temperature. So the ice boats also represent a symbolic cooling of the pond. But we had the idea of writing poems in this workshop to be sent off into the pond in the ice boats.
To past visitors of the pond, I wonder what this place meant to you. Oh, to be able to ask you and hear what you say.
To the city of Providence. Dear city, you velvet case, the pond a jewel within you, you warm and cold place.
What I see, an empty dragon boat and a motorboat kicking up quite a wake, water clouded with green algae.
To someone I wish could be with me at the pond. We might climb in a rowboat and you show me the muscles in your arms, the water under us orange with sunset.
And we felt that, the pond is a wonderful place to be around, and all our programming was in schools and not near the pond. And so it was a great opportunity to kind of bring people here to the pond and explore it through the eyes of a naturalist as well as through an artist.
So today we will explore and identify the natural world here from the cosmic to the smallest detail to refresh ourselves. So I thought of let's form a circle anywhere out here. The orbital rotation of the Earth about the Sun, whisks us along at 68,000 miles an hour. The motion of the Sun around the stars of the galaxy adds 34,000 miles an hour to our velocity. And the turning of the Milky Way, another 80,000 miles an hour. So we are really cruising. We are here in this life, in this precious life. One more time.
It started as a way to get people in the neighborhood aware of the pond that existed and the fact that it has a lot of health concerns around it.
It's a health concern because there's high phosphorus load here, and there's dioxins and PCBs in the fish tissue samples that have been gotten from fish that are in this pond, and they're really unsafe for people to eat.
Right now we're going to do a dissolved oxygen test. And dissolved oxygen is what keeps fish healthy. It's a pretty good indicator of water quality. A pond like this with this much algae in it, the oxygen level should be really low because all these plants are consuming oxygen, and then the animals that eat them, like little microbes and whatnot, they will essentially use up all the oxygen in eating the plants, and that leaves less for the fish. So I've heard that there's lack of frogs, which means that they were probably killed off by the toxins.
My ancestors, the Narragansett, our winter village would have been on a fresh pond like this, a freshwater pond. Around the pond there are so many resources. Our ancestors would come to the ponds because, one, you're by the forest or the Watah where you would make your village, so you're protected, but you're also where the game is. The rabbits and the deer and the bear and all the animals that are the woodland creatures would be, so that you could hunt during the winter months to feed your families.
blueberries. There's raspberries growing right here. And there's this chokeberry, which are all really important for wildlife, migratory songbirds. It's always nice to come down to a place like this and go pick berries, but that's not something that the families and kids in the area can go out and enjoy safely. And that's one of the sad parts about this. Same thing for the wildlife. They're just not utilizing the area. It's a sad state of affairs when they're afraid of it and they seek shelter from the water. And that seems to be what's happening around here.
And looking at our traditional things, showing our usage of the resources by the pond, whether that would be a beaver pelt to make blankets or a robe or a coat. Something like this, which is a pouch that's made from a snapping turtle. And the turtle's very significant for us. The turtle represents Mother Earth.
So having the Gorin factory there with the metals and the contaminants, that has a big impact. And there's all sorts of toxic materials that are used to refine metal and clean it and polish it. And they just sit in the sediment. But the second you disturb that sediment, it goes right back into the system again.
I can envision in my mind a time where you couldn't see any of the city growth and you couldn't see the pollution and everything was pristine and beautiful, and you can envision my ancestors here around this pond gathering materials, all of those things that once were here, and that this beauty of this pond still holds the memory of, and hopefully in someday in the near future it will have the health that it once had, so that everyone that lives around this pond today could enjoy the beauty and the gift from the Creator that it once held.
I've lived on the pond for over 34 years. I find that it's a hidden treasure in the city of Providence, probably in the state too. I've always had a love of animals. I've always grown up with dogs, and I would bring home birds that had broken wings. I would bring home lost animals. I always say that I live in Providence, but I have the best of the country.
One of the greatest things about Urban Pond Protection is that because it is so volunteer driven, that we have so many different groups of people at any given time working on this project. And so each year new talents come in, or new skill sets, new sets of knowledge pass through and leave their mark on the organization. I think it's really nice to have that flow of creativity, constantly changing, constantly moving, constantly adding to the project.
Bittersweet and other things that they shouldn't eat.
It's a great bridge between different groups. We've been working very closely with the Environmental Justice League of Rhode Island, as well as the Health Department, DEM, and all the different schools in the area. Brown, we're trying to work more with RISD, and the arts and the community serve as a really good way to get seemingly disparate groups of people. We've found that to be one of the greatest assets.
Yeah, artists kind of know how to dance between things and connect different disciplines and things.
I was asked by David, and I met Holly, to give a little talk on the plants around the pond. I'm a botanist, or I teach botany. I love plants, tell them about plants, so people get enthused about plants and what they do for the environment. And then I do a lot of cleanup. I'm a poison ivy killer. I got my tools, and I chop poison ivy into different pots.
It should stay the way it is. It should not be developed into anything that would take away from the natural state. But I would like to see some of maybe the fishing contests that were held here before, where they catch and release the fish. That would be good. It could be like a teaching classroom, possibly. I just love this area. That's why I've stayed here so long, you know. It has a lot of good memories.
It's going to take a long time to clean up this pond. In the meantime, I think it's really vital to have artists kind of coming up with new things to kind of help people interact and appreciate this place. I think the art is a good bridge to when it will be maybe swimmable again.